Some characters are meant to be heroes, others not so much. That's exactly the case with Chicago PD's Hank Voight. Voight blurs the line between being a hero and a villain, but the fans absolutely love him when he's working outside the law. Redeeming him might have a massive impact on the show, but not in a good way. Stay tuned as we explain why Voight is a better villain and much more. First up, why Voight should stay the bad cop. Chicago PD is a spin-off of the popular show Chicago Fire. The NBC police procedural has been one of the most popular shows on TV for more than 8 years. The popularity of the show is probably due in part to the character Hank Voight and how he flirts with the bad side of the law. Voight is the leader of the unit, but he is known for being cruel and mean to criminals. He often blurs the lines between the good guys and the bad guys, which keeps people interested in the show. When Voight was first shown on the show, he was a corrupt and dirty cop. After the first news broke, he was quickly forgiven when he admitted that he had only pretended to be corrupt because of a deal with internal affairs. Since the beginning, the way Voight has been treated was based on whether his character is good or bad in the end. Chicago PD shows him as both a villain and the real hero of the show. Being a cop who walks on a thin line between good and bad will surely have your morality questioned, and that's something that keeps the viewers wanting to know more. Showing the side of Voight that is willing to do whatever it takes, regardless of which side of the law it falls under, is where the show's storytelling truly shines, as opposed to when he is the moral core of the squad. So, Chicago PD works best as a show when Voight does things that are against the law. That leads us to why Voight thrives as the villain. Voight's character has seen significant growth as season 10 goes on. Even though this may seem like a good thing, it'll hurt the show in the long run. There's no doubt that he isn't as ruthless as he used to be, and this is affecting the intelligence unit as a whole. As Voight loses his tough attitude, the unit's way of dealing with crime in the city also changes. Voight was never a character who thought too much about his feelings. Instead, he dealt with most situations by getting angry. In past seasons, Hank Voight would have done anything to get Sean, the son of the police chief who was caught selling underage girls, locked up. But in season 10, Jay Halstead's storyline ended in a way that was out of character, and Voight's character is different from how he was portrayed in previous seasons as well. Voight is interesting to watch because of the problems he has with himself. This gives viewers a chance to judge his character, which makes him interesting and an important part of the show. He showed over and over again that people have flaws and that things are never as simple as black and white. Voight's character has been through a lot of emotional trouble over the years. His son died unexpectedly, and then his best friend Al Olinsky was killed. These moments gave Voight's mistakes a chance to catch up with him and showed viewers a vulnerable side of a character who usually has no room for emotion unless it's anger. Moving on to how Voight as anti-hero hurts the show. Voight has always been the perfect example of a morally ambiguous person. He does questionable things to get what he wants and justifies them however he wants along the way. His problems make for interesting TV, and his commitment to helping the people he has wronged makes him an anti-hero in the show's storyline. At this point in the show, it doesn't make sense to try to save him by making him less aggressive, which also makes him lose his stance on crime. And it definitely does not help the show. Quite the opposite, actually. Since Chicago Fire showed Voight for the first time, he has always been shown to be more than just a dirty cop. He does what he has to do to fight for justice and protect the city of Chicago. Voight is very committed to his job, even though he is mean and uses fear to get what he wants. He's strong and brave in his fight to protect victims and make Chicago safer. Having his own morals keeps things interesting, not just for the characters and the intelligence unit, but also for the people watching at home. Voight's a cop who wants to do his job and get results, even if it means using some outlaw methods. That's what's made him special and stand out as an individual. We get that people change as they learn new things, but changing the entire personality of the character that's probably one of the most interesting about the show is quite questionable, considering the number of questionable acts Voight has done in the past. That leads us straight to some of the worst things Hank Voight has ever done. Starting off the list, he enables violence. Voight has been very violent, and it's no surprise that he encourages his unit to be just as aggressive as him. Season 6 of Chicago PD shows one instance of Voight letting things go completely off the rails. People who watched the show knew that Detective Antonio Dawson was addicted to painkillers on and off for a long time. In the last episode of the season, Dawson's drug connection was put in jail, and Voight found out about their connection. Voight got the officer to rehab, but an associate of the jailed dealer kidnapped Dawson's daughter, and that's when the danger got out of hand. After finding the kidnapper, Voight did what he always does. He dared him to do something. This time, however, Dawson lost it and brutally attacked the thug. Even Voight had to stop the beating when he thought Dawson was going too far. The kidnapper made a joke about Dawson's daughter thinking he was safe, but Dawson completely lost it and pushed the thug down the stairs and killed him on the street below. Voight not only let Dawson kill the suspect, but he also tried to hide the real reason why the suspect died. Overall, it's just another clear sign that Voight is Voight. Next up, vengeance over justice. In Season 1, Hank Voight gets into a situation where he went against ethics and police protocols for his family. In the 7th episode, The Price We Pay, things heated up quickly when Voight's son Justin was accused of killing a mid-level crime boss in a bloody way. As usual, Voight was willing to cover up for his son, but this time there was a problem. A drug dealer named Joseph Catalano had proof of Justin's involvement in the murder. Voight drove his son to an army recruitment center and made it clear that this is the only way for him to get out of danger and get out of Chicago. In the meantime, though, a new body had washed up on the Chicago River shore of none other than Joseph Catalano. Voight was suspected of killing Catalano as soon as he got to the scene, but he just smirked, said that Catalano had enemies, and said it was a revenge killing by someone he doesn't know. But in reality, any Chicago PD fans knew exactly whose thirst for revenge had just been quenched. Moving on, his reaction to Alvin Olinsky's death. Fans know well that in his capacity as director of the department's intelligence branch, Voight is extremely territorial. While he governs the squad with an iron fist and exacts strict obedience from his underlings, he displays a fiery temper once his territory is threatened. Even more so if you dare harass or threaten the police working for him. In light of this, it is difficult to overstate Voight's cruelty in meting out punishment when one of his fellow police officers is killed. Alvin Olinsky was Voight's longtime comrade, ally, and confidant in the force. In Season 5, Olinsky was jailed unjustly after his DNA was found on the body of a murder victim. But a cartel hitman killed Olinsky in prison, and Voight went hunting for the boss who ordered the killing. Voight again took the law into his own hands when he followed the trail of payoff money to the local head of the Cali cartel. He shot and killed the drug lord and then drank a toast to a picture of his dead, but now avenged friend. Coming up next, don't mess with his family. Hank Voight's short fuse and preference for a rough approach toward those he saw as criminals or enemies were widely criticized. Despite that, many viewers could probably understand, if not condone, his savage reaction to the events of the emotionally draining Season 3 finale. Hank Voight's son, Justin, was a disturbed young man trying to straighten out his life at the end of the season. But life isn't always sunshine. Justin was shot and Voight had to take him to the hospital. Voight made the heartbreaking decision to have Justin's life support turned off when he was pronounced brain dead. He, understandably upset at the assault on his son, chased the perpetrator with fury. When he caught up with the thief, he dragged him to a secluded building site. Even after the thug begged for his life, Voight ordered him to dig his own grave, and then he shot him. Voight is then shown leaving the graveyard, shovel in hand, in the next scene. Lastly, the rogue cop traits. Hank Voight is consistently forceful in his pursuit of what he sees as justice, despite being the kind of cop prepared to do seriously dubious stuff. Fans of One Chicago should have had a good idea of what to expect from him in Chicago PD even before the show premiered in 2014. Voight had been the target of criticism for his role in multiple episodes of Chicago Fire, the show that spawned the spin-off. However, the opening episode of Chicago PD should have made Voight's unyielding character obvious, even to those who were unaware of his violent tendencies in the original series. In the opening scene of the first episode of Season 1, we saw Voight at his best, hauling a suspect out to a distant industrial site for a grueling Q&A session that ultimately ends badly for the criminal. That's a wrap for this video. Do you agree Voight should stay a villain, or is his redemption needed? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.